And we welcome you inside the America First Event Center in Cedar City for a showdown of top 25 gymnastics programs here on ESPN+. Utah State pays a visit to Southern Utah. The third time this year these two squads will meet. Good evening, everybody. Spencer McLaughlin with you. I'm joined by former Southern Utah gymnasts Megan and Maddie McBride to my right. Megan and then Maddie, just so that you don't get confused. Megan, I'll start with you. There have been a lot of good teams to come through the AFEC this year. The Thunderbirds consistently have been one of them, but the schedule just never gets any easier with a team like Utah State.
No, Utah State's had a great season so far. They went 196-425 last week, I believe. They're a very consistent team, and you know it's going to be a good night watching them compete. It's going to come down to the little things, so it's going to be a great night.
And you know that the environment is always going to play a factor here at the America First Event Center. And Maddie, we welcome you to the broadcast this season. It's great to have you here with us. But Southern Utah back-to-back road meets now coming back here at home. That always plays a factor, as you know, as you both know, competing on this floor and in this arena. It helps quite a bit, especially on the floor routines, which has been a little bit of a weakness for this Thunderbird squad this season.
Absolutely. It's always fun to be on the road, but getting back into the home crowd, the home environment, you just feel the energy, it's comfortable, and you're just ready to rock it and perform for your team and for your crowd.
It is number 25 and number 21. When we come back, take you right up to the first rotations of the night. Keep it here. Matchup as a whole, because last year Southern Utah really kind of kicked butt when going against Utah State in a major way. Welcome back, everybody, inside the America First Event Center. Our first rotation is just a few minutes away. Spencer McLaughlin with you alongside Maddie and Megan McBride. Megan, I'll start with you. This is the third time these two teams have met this season, but the first time in a dual meet. It was a tri-meet last week in Logan. Utah State got the win there. And then to begin the season all the way back on January the 7th at the Best of Utah, Utah State finished ahead of Southern Utah once again. When you're a gymnastics team going into a dual meet, what is the feel in relation to a tri-meet or a quad meet? How are those two different?
I mean, the feel of it's very different just because there's not as many teams. You know, it's only you and your competitor. And, you know, we've competed against them 3 times this season, so we kind of know, you know, what their gymnastics is like, how consistent they are, and how good of a team they are. So, yeah.
Southern Utah has been good this year, but they were trending up for a little while, but then have fallen back just a little bit. And Maddie, I'll throw this over to you. Southern Utah has had to deal with some injuries and some gymnasts being out of the lineups the last couple of weeks, which is always something that gymnastics coaches are tinkering with. When you have gymnasts not able to compete in a certain week, or typically anchors or really solid competitors in that particular event, how does that impact kind of the team morale and the coach's approach to setting the lineups as well?
I think in regards to Southern Utah, Scott prepares our team really well with training a lot of athletes to be ready for competition. So I feel like it can be a little bit of a shock, especially if it's a last-minute thing during the competition. But we always come into the meets prepared and ready to compete, and that's just ready to do our jobs.
Well, it's not every day that you can have two teams who are both looking for revenge in some way against the other. Last year in 2 dual meets, Southern Utah bested the Aggies with 2 of the 10 best scores in program history, including a 197.275 last year here in this arena. But as I mentioned earlier, this season it has gone the way of the Aggies, who have bested the Thunderbirds in both of the meets. But this one, a duel, and of course the home crowd will be on Southern Utah's side, but the Thunderbirds, of course, the roster looks slightly different than it does a season ago. But Megan, anytime you put up a 197 point anything, that's a number that any gymnastics team is going to feel very good about.
Yeah, that's a great score. Usually you're going to want to aim for that 196.5 range. So when you get above that 197 mark, that's elite competition and elite gymnastics right there. That's what the best teams are getting. So when a team like Southern Utah gets that score, it's really great.
Now, Southern Utah's season high so far this season, 196.55. That was in the win against a Pac-12 opponent, Arizona, back on January the 14th. But it looks like we are getting set for our first rotation of the night. Southern Utah on the vault. We'll start things off with Haley Voltaggio, who had a 9.75 on this event last week.
Beautiful vault by Haley Voltaggio. You can see just that small hop on the landing. She competed what is called a Yurchenko full. She goes round off onto the board, back handspring entry with a full twist in a laid out position. That should be a great start off for the Thunderbirds.
Jessica Gutierrez starts things off for Utah State on the bars. The junior from Monterey, New Mexico, averaging a 9.78 on this event this year for fifth-year head coach Amy Smith, the fourth head coach in program history. And of course, the Aggies dealing recently with the passing of Ray Korn in August. The first head coach in this Utah State gymnastics program was very close with SEU head coach Scotty Bauman in his 31st season. I talked to Scotty about that earlier today, and he said that Coach Korn was just an incredible guy and someone who influenced him in a number of ways. But this Aggies gymnastics program is one that Coach Korn would certainly be proud of today.
Beautiful handstands all throughout this routine. Let's see this dismount. Awesome, very clean routine. That's the kind of routine you want to start off a bar lineup with, so she did a very good job.
A 9.8 last week. We'll see if Gutierrez can match that. Back over to the vault, Stephanie Tervort, a 9.775 on the vault last week.
On vault, you're going to want to be looking for a few things. You're going to want to be looking for amplitude, distance from the vault, and landings. So you could see with Steph's vault right there, she had great amplitude. Not quite a lot of distance that you want to see on that vault, but overall a great vault.
Over to the bars, and the first freshman of the night, or excuse me, Rebecca Wells will be taking off. Most definitely not one of the freshmen, though there are 7 on this Aggies roster. As you get another look at the vault here from Tervort. But it's Rebecca Wells, the junior from Smyrna, Tennessee, averaging just 9.694 on the bars this year, but the only Aggie likely to compete in the all-around. She is slated to do just that here tonight. And what's the difficulty doing the all-around? Obviously, one event can be pretty taxing, but doing 4 in one night, Maddie, what is that like?
It's definitely mentally taxing. You just have to go from one event to the next, and you can't let the event that just passed affect the one you're going to, and you just got to stay focused the whole night. As we're going into this bar routine, what you want to look for is handstands, form, and landings. Those are the big things the judges are going to be looking for. So we'll see what Rebecca brings to the table with this routine. Huge Tkachev release move, straight to a connected bail. She's winding up for the dismount. And she gets the stick. That is awesome. The best feeling. Great routine for Rebecca.
Back over to the vault, and Southern Utah sends out the one they call the Vault Queen, Morgan Alfaro, and 9.85 last week. Career best 9.925 in this event.
You're going to see right here why she's called the Vault Queen. Just watch and enjoy. Amazing vault by Morgan. Do you see that stick? That's exactly what they're looking for. That should be an amazing score and exactly what you want to see from Morgan.
The reigning MRGC Vault Specialist of the Year. With a solid routine, our first scores are in. Jessica Gutierrez, a 9.775 on bars for Utah State. Haley Voltaggio opened with an even 9.8 on the vault for the Flippin' Birds, and Tervort followed that with a 9.775. And Alfaro, when she stuck this landing, she knew it right away.
Oh, yeah. You know in the air when you're going to stick it, and it feels good.
My favorite is watching Morgan's celebration. You know she's in it all the way. You can see that passion in her eyes. It's awesome.
Third up on the bars, the sophomore from Los Angeles, Eve Jackson, trying to improve upon a 9.2 last week in the tri-meet win for the Aggies, featuring these Southern Utah Flippin' Birds and Ball State.
Oh, and she just barely missed her hands on that Jaeger. Her lines are impeccable. Excited to see how she finishes out this routine.
And so when a gymnast falls like that, you see her going back to readjust and reset her grips. Does she essentially get to go back to square one?
It depends on if she has any connections within her routine, if she connects a high bar skill to a low bar skill. So if she does, she'll start over. If not, she'll start where she left off, up on that high bar.
Looks like that's where she will go to close it out.
She's going for that release move again. And she gets it. Amazing, got that connection. Beautiful handstands. Great bar routine. It's always hard to get back up after a fall, and she did a beautiful job.
A 9-9 for Morgan Alfaro. They just announced on the PA here inside the AFEC. That's the highest score of the meet thus far, and just 0.25, I should say, off of her career best. And now she'll watch her teammate, fellow senior Rachel Smith, who did not do the vault last week.
Rachel Smith does a unique vault here. She goes round off onto the board, full twisting pike off the vault. Great landing, took a little bit of a step, but that is a 10-0 start value, so she should get a great score.
She's one of 3 flippin' birds to have a 10-0 start value on the vault. Of course, the highest start value you can have in any of these events. And of course, the higher start value is indicative of a higher degree of difficulty on the routine.
Yeah, so every start value comes from the bonuses that you get from the skills you perform. So with Morgan Alfaro, she did a Yurchenko full. That's a 995 start value. And Rachel's vault is just a little bit more difficult, so the judges reward that difficulty with just a little bit more bonus.
Sophie Sullivan is next up for head coach Amy Smith and the Aggies of Utah State. Junior from Manhattan Beach, a 9.85 last week on bars. 3rd time this year she has been over 9.8 in this event. And for 2 programs like this, Maddie, that are perennial top 25 caliber teams, that 9.8 number is always where coaches want to see their gymnasts at.
Absolutely. Looks like she's on her way there right now. Beautiful pack from the high bar to the low bar. You see she's great lines, pointing her toes, really stretching through all of her angles. And she stays on her feet for that dismount. That'll be a little bit of a deduction with the knees getting close to the ground in a few steps, but otherwise really great routine.
Back over to the vault and the reigning Mountain Rim Gymnastics Conference Vault Specialist of the Week, Caitlin Coe, the senior from San Gabriel High School in California. A 9.9 last week, matching her career high. 2nd time she has notched that number.
This is another difficult vault, a 10-0 start value. Yurchenko 1.5. Great landing. That's exactly what you want to see on a 1.5. It's very difficult with that blind landing, but you could tell she knew exactly where she was.
She had the highest score for any flippin' bird last week in any event with her 9.9, and might be pushing that with this routine right here.
You can see she just took that little step backwards, but otherwise great amplitude, great distance.
She is preceded by a 9.875 by Rachel Smith on the vault. So some good scores here in the first rotation for the Flippin' Birds. And head coach Scotty Bauman, a 49.075 last week was the team's best event. In the 2nd place finish in the tri-meet up in Logan, Utah State a 196.425 and Ball State a 194.35. And awaiting her turn to go, the sophomore from Las Vegas, Brianna Brooks. And Maddie, some gymnasts start up on the high bar, some start on the low bar. What's the reason for that difference?
It mainly depends on the kind of release move you're doing and how you get into that release move. So she did what's called a was that array that she did, which was beautiful, by the way. So she started from the back side of the bar so that she could be facing the low bar for the rest of her routine.
Well, she'll try and follow up her 9.85 from a week ago. And an even 9.9 for Caitlin Coe. second straight week she's had a 9-9 on vault, matching her career high. And now rounding out the first rotation, the junior from Riverton High School in Utah, Celine Barney, off of a career best 9-8 last week on her first vault of the year.
Wow. Yes. Amazing stick. You can tell she's so pumped about that. This is only her second time competing, so you can tell that she's just amped to be in that lineup.
I just got the chills watching that ball. You always love watching gymnasts stick. It's the absolute best feeling.
You can also see in the air just how straight her body line is. Very little pike down at the end, and that's exactly what the judges want to see, so great vault.
Amazing vault rotation for the Thunderbirds.
Southern Utah right now sitting at a 49.25, awaiting Barney's score. But the final performance here in rotation number 1, Maya Fishwick, the junior from New Zealand, one of a couple international competitors on this Aggies gymnastics team. Off of a 9-9 last week on bars, second straight week, she hit an even 9.9, but not even her career high, which is a 9.95. And anytime you have stats like that, you know that this is someone who you definitely want to have anchoring an event.
Absolutely. It's always tough to be the last one up when you have a fall in the rotation, but it sounds like she's a solid competitor, so I'm excited to see this routine from her.
That career best 9.95 was against Southern Utah last year. Tied for third best in school history on the bars.
That was a double front dismount, which you don't see often in the NCAA for its difficulty, but she did it beautifully. That was a great bar routine from Maya. Great bar routine for the Aggies.
We're still awaiting the score from Celine Barney, but even as it stands right now, Southern Utah set for a season best on the vault, sitting at 49.25. When we come back, we'll have the final 2 scores, or at least we hope, and then we will get on to rotation number 2. More gymnastics in Cedar City after this. First Event Center, everybody. Spencer McLaughlin joined by Megan and Maddie McBride to my right. Rotation number 1 goes the way of the Flippin' Birds, getting back here at home after 2 straight meets on the road. Megan, a season high for SUU on the vault of 49.275, just 0.05 off of matching the best score in school history. Never a bad way to start off a meet.
Oh yeah, with 2 9.9s in that vault rotation, you can never go wrong.
Caitlin Coe had 1, and the other one went to Morgan Alfaro, the one they call the vault queen. Meanwhile, on the other side, Maddie, Utah State, normally a pretty strong bars team, but perhaps not the best rotation that they will certainly feel they are capable of here tonight.
Yeah, sometimes you get to a meet and you've practiced and practiced, but there's just those fluky things that happen, and that's why you have strong teammates behind you to finish out that bar rotation. They still got that 5 out of 6 routine, so it still should be a great score for the Aggies on bars.
Yeah, in every rotation, 6 gymnasts compete. You take the top 5 scores. Still waiting on that final score for Maya Fishwick. Currently sits at 48.125. No matter what she's able to bring in for the Aggies, it'll be an advantage Thunderbirds after round 1. And after 2 straight weeks on the road, Maddie, Southern Utah coming back home, also getting a couple of gymnasts back. Rachel Smith did not compete last week. We'll see a couple other gymnasts throughout the night who have been in and out of the lineups, but after a rotation like that, have to imagine it gives Coach Bauman's team a lot of confidence.
Yes, absolutely. When you feel this energy, not only from the crowd, but from the gymnasts after doing great vaults, that confidence just keeps building and building throughout the night, and that trust in your gymnastics and in your teammates just keeps building, and you have a great time.
And there you saw the 9.875 from Rachel Smith, a 9.9 from Caitlin Coe, and a 9.9 from Morgan Alfaro, results in a season high in that event. And Megan, let me go back to you here as we go to rotation number 2. If you're Southern Utah, you feel good about how rotation number 1 went. You feel good for your teammates. If you're competing on this event, you obviously are having some confidence as well with that score. But how do you prevent yourself from being overconfident as a team and not just kind of trying to coast through the rest of the meet?
Yeah, so you obviously feel really good about a 49.275 on vault, and you're going to be excited, of course, but you have to move into the next event and just kind of have a clear slate, clean mind, fresh gymnastics, and just focus one thing at a time on what you're doing and just carry that through the rest of the meet.
And in this touch period where the gymnasts are able to get loose, go through their routines, and I mean, we certainly hope coaches don't decide to make any last-minute lineup changes lest we get confused up here. But how involved are the coaches in those moments when you're going through your routines and your coaches are talking to? What are they saying most often, and how does that help you get ready for what you're about to do?
Yeah, you know, in this 4-minute period touch, there's really not much that the coaches are doing. They're watching to make sure that the girls that are in the lineup are going to be the best ones to hit. And, you know, most of the corrections are going to come either in practice or even in the 15-minute touch. So at this point, the gymnasts are just loosening their bodies and just letting their minds take a rest and letting their body take over.
And Maddie, Utah State comes into this meet as one of the 20 best bar scoring teams by average thus far. That's why they're number 21 in the country, certainly a big part of that. On the one side, you've got Southern Utah off of their best vault performance of the year, one of the lower ones on bars for the Aggies. How do you respond to that as a team and as a coaching staff going into the next rotation?
Usually you're circling up and you're getting ready for the next event and saying to your team, all right, we're going to the next event. This event doesn't matter anymore. It's in the past, and we know how to do our gymnastics moving forward. So we just have to trust each other and trust ourselves, trust that we know what we're doing, and go forward. And like Meg said, just go into autopilot and do your thing.
Utah State certainly knows what they're doing. You don't get to be a perennial top 25 program for nothing. Fifth-year head coach Amy Smith has done just a fantastic job with her team up there in Logan, and Scotty Bauman, of course, has done a marvelous job over the past 31 years. So just a little bit of a difference in experience there, just about 26 seasons. But with the way that Coach Smith's team has performed this year, Megan, you really wouldn't know that she's in just her 5th year, which might sound like a pretty long time, but to get there and recruit your own athletes and implement your system and your culture and all that sort of stuff, it takes some time, and she certainly got them in a great place.
Right, from what we've seen so far this season, she seems like she's a veteran coach just like Scott, so I'm sure she's so proud of the team and how they've built from when she started.
Well, she gets a little bit of a score bump. Maya Fishwick a 9.85 to round things out in bars, so that gets that bar score up a little bit to 48.85, an average of 49.025 this year for the Aggies coming in. So a little bit below their season average, but still a score that very much keeps them alive with 3 rotations to go. Southern Utah will head over to the bars, and Utah State over to the vault for rotation number 2 here from the campus of Southern Utah University. A very impressive round 1 for SUU. And Nikki Thomas will start things off on the bars for Southern Utah. But first, we're over to the vault, and Trinity Brown, the first freshman we have seen tonight from Upper Marlboro, Maryland, a 9.825 last week. Her coach would love to see that score here to start things off in rotation number 2.
The first position on vault is really important. That's what's going to get the ball rolling for this team, and that was a great vault to start off. Great amplitude, great distance, just a tiny little hop, but they seem happy about that.
And she has one vault title this year with a 9.825, her career high back on January 14th in the meet with Air Force. And Nikki Thomas starts things off on bars. Did not do the bars last week after a hard fall 2 weeks ago at Boise State. But Coach Bauman has got her lead back in the leadoff spot.
Nikki does a Maloney connected straight to a pack salto, and she did it beautifully. Finishing out for the dismount, nails that handstand. And almost a stick, just barely a hop, but you can see they're all really excited about routine, as they should be. It was so great.
And that has to feel good after being sidelined last week, recovering from the injury. Wasn't anything specific per se, just kind of letting her body rest and recover. But back at the top of the lineup, and this is Bree Clark for Utah State.
Another beautiful Yurchenko full by Bree Clark. Just a little hop, but great amplitude, good distance. So looks like these scores are going to keep building for Utah State on vault.
Aubrey Schwartz is another flippin' bird who has been in and out of the lineup this year, but came back with a 9.775 on bars last week. The 2021 Mountain Rim Gymnastics Conference Freshman of the Year is slated to compete in the beam later tonight as well, but right now all attention on her bars routine.
Aubrey is a beautiful bar worker to watch. She has beautiful long lines and big release moves. big piked Jaeger from Aubrey into a beautiful handstand. You can see she held it, which is what you want to look for. The judges can't take any deductions there. Winding up for the dismount. Another great handstand. Just barely a hop forward, but there wasn't much wrong with that bar routine. Aubrey should be very happy.
Molly Arnold is up next on the vault. Another freshman, one of 7 on the roster for Coach Smith from Bloomington, Minnesota, a 9.75 last week, just a touch under her season average in this event, 9.763.
So she did what's called a Yurchenko half. Just instead of a full twist, it's just one half flip through the air. That's very difficult. It's like the blind landing that we saw by Kate Coe, but she had great lines throughout that vault and a good landing, so that should be a great score.
Coach Bauman raves about all of his gymnasts, but none as much as Hannah Knipp, who he says gymnastics looks way too easy for. And she is up next for her bar routine off of a 9.8 last week. Has the second highest score in school history on this event. Her career best, a 9.925.
Hannah Knipp is definitely rave-worthy. She's a veteran bar worker, always such a solid competitor, and just so fun to watch on anything that she does. She'll start off with a blind Jaeger. Beautiful, just a little close, wanted to make sure she gets that catch. Beautiful bail to handstand. Knipp's handstands are amazing every time. And she gets a stick! Amazing! Such a great routine for Hannah Knipp. The crowd, the gymnasts, they're all excited.
She'll be following a 9.825 from her teammate Nikki Thomas. Aubrey Schwartz's score is still waiting to come in, but we are back over to Brianna Brooks, who is up next on the vault for Utah State.
Another great Yurchenko full for Utah State. Great amplitude. You can see she kind of flared at the end, and that's what you want to see from a vault. You don't really want to see that pike down, so that should be a good score.
You can see in Utah State.
Back over to the bars, Mason Bentley is getting ready for her routine off of a 9.75 last week. Thus far in this second rotation, Utah State a 9.875 from Trinity Brown and a 9.825 from Bree Clark on vault. Southern Utah over 9.8 with both of their scores, a 9.825 from Thomas, a 9.85 from Aubrey Schwartz.
Mason will start with a toe-on ray, which is always huge. Good connection. You saw she caught a little close on that ray, but she always seems to make it work out to that connection. Going up for the dismount. And she gets the stick. They're on fire tonight. All the flipping birds getting their bar sticks. Amazing gymnastics to watch here tonight. Great routine for Mason.
And Coach Bauman has talked about how he feels that's been the one thing holding this team back, if at all. Their ability to stick the landings. Has to be pleased with what he's seeing tonight. Rebecca Wells up for Utah State over on the vault off of a 9.85 last week.
Gets that stick. Oh my gosh, that was like a lawn dart. It doesn't get much better than that.
These Aggies are locked in on their vault landings tonight. They're looking great.
She had the vault title on January 28th at BYU with a 9.875. With the looks of it, she might be very close to that score once again. Back over to the bars, Shai Murakami off of a 9.8 on the bars. Steps up for Southern Utah. And Coach Bauman has talked at length about the depth that his team has. And we were talking about how high a praise he has for Hannah Knipp. And right after, he's able to send out Shai Murakami, who has the SUU school record, 9.95. She's done it twice.
Shai's another bar veteran for the Flippin' Birds. As you can see, she's just a solid competitor. She holds those handstands. Tucked full out dismount and another stick. So good. Great bar routine for Shailin Murakami. Excited to see the score come out for that one.
Rounding things out on the vault on rotation number 2 for the Aggies, Eve Jackson, trying to shake off the fall she had on bars earlier tonight.
It's always hard to rally after a fall, but looks like she had a great Yurchenko layout vault to get right back up and back in that lineup.
It's her first vault in 3 weeks and looking plenty confident, the sophomore from Los Angeles. And now our final routine. Here in rotation number 2 is chance of 10 emerge from the student sections. And there was a lot of jumping down there. I don't know.
Looks like one of the judges had a 9.95 and the other had a 10.0. So that's going to be a 9.975. New school record right there.
Shai Murakami beats her own career high in school record, which she had done twice, a 9.975, and she gets a standing ovation from the crowd here inside the AFEC, adding to a tremendously strong performance for the Thunderbirds so far.
That's a well-deserved 9.975.
Oh, no doubt about that.
Carly McLean is up on bars. And for her score to count, she has got a tough lineup to crack here with the first 5. We have seen the lowest thus far, a 9.825 from Nikki Thomas and Mason Bentley.
She's doing great. Huge Ginger. Hitting very nice angles. It's never a bad thing to end out a bar lineup with 2 amazing seniors. Beautiful routine from Carly. Just that little step forward on her dismount, but otherwise great routine. Beautiful form. Should be a great score to finish out bars for the Thunderbirds.
We have got some high scores here inside the AFEC tonight. Southern Utah, the early advantage, will round out the second rotation scores when we come back. Wow.
Awesome.
Ryan just texted me in all caps, look!
Jokes.
Welcome back inside the America First Event Center in Cedar City, Southern Utah. Off to a hot start, and Utah State got off to a good start with this vault routine from Trinity Brown.
You're going to see such height in that vault, and great distance and just a small little hop, so that 9.875 was well deserved.
We're seeing Shailin's bar routine again. I don't know about you, but I could watch this all night long. Such a great bar routine. And really something you can expect from Shailin every competition.
A 9.975, the highest score in school history on the bars. And Southern Utah off to a red-hot start here back at home. Last 2 meets were on the road. They were not able to get wins in either of them. One a tri-meet, one a dual meet up in Boise. But boy, they look refreshed and confident here at home with season highs in each of the first 2 events. Megan, I'll start with you. That has to give the team a world of confidence.
Oh yeah, you can tell they're just amped about those scores. Not just Shai's, but just as a team overall. You know, they're looking really strong, and you can tell they're kind of refreshed to be back at home. Nice to, you know, sleep in your own bed the night before a meet and to be back in the AFEC with all these amazing fans. So I'm excited to see what they do on this next rotation.
Meanwhile, Utah State bounces back after the 48.85 on the bar. Certainly not a bad score, but below their season average, a 49.25 on the vault, led by a 9.9 from Rebecca Wells and the 9.875 from Trinity Brown. Maddie, that has to be a really good bounce-back feeling for the Aggies here on the road.
Oh, definitely. I was commenting earlier, they just look solid. Like, they know what they're doing. It's about that time in the season when you're just feeling comfortable. It's muscle memory, and you're just going and trusting yourself, and they look like they're doing just that. So hopefully that energy just carries through with them in this floor rotation.
Well, we get set for rotation number 3. Southern Utah will head over to the beam, and Utah State will go to the floor. And being at home has perhaps the biggest advantage when you're on the floor routine because of the crowd interaction there and just the length of the routine. The crowd can really keep you going. But Maddie, what is it like doing a floor routine on the road versus at home? How do you get yourself motivated and competing with the same energy that you want to show on your home floor?
As a team, when you're on the road, you're trying to focus on that energy and really bringing a little bit extra because you don't have that home advantage, that crowd advantage cheering for you in the background. So you try and bring that energy within yourselves and just trust your gymnastics, feed off the energy your team's giving you, and just go out and do your job.
You see there Eve Jackson with a 9.575 to round out the vault. So Utah State will discard that score. They end with a 49.25 on the vault. That is their best mark of the season. So a bunch of season bests flying around here inside the America First Event Center. And when you know that you have another good team on the other side in a dual meet like this, Megan, it has to raise your mental energy a little bit and increase your focus as you go into your next event.
Yeah, you always have to be aware of kind of what the other team is doing, what kind of gymnastics they're putting out, but in the end, you're really just focused on your own team and your own gymnastics, and you're just focusing on how to get those best routines out on the floor.
A 49.3 for Southern Utah matches their season best on that event. They'll head over to Beam, where they have yet to crack that 49 score this season on the beam. And before the season began, Coach Bauman raved to me time and time again about how talented a beam team he thinks this is. They haven't quite put it together, but they're getting a couple gymnasts back into the rotation who are out for the last couple weeks. And Maddie, sometimes even if you're a team that's capable of scoring very well, it can take you a few meets to work out the kinks.
Yes, absolutely. And I think with Beam too, it's one of those events where you want that solid lineup and just to feel the flow throughout the season as well, just to feel comfortable, especially where it's one of the more mental events, quote unquote, where the gymnastics is a little easier, but you're on a 4-inch beam and it's a little bit longer of a routine, more time to get in your head. But the Thunderbirds had a great warm-up, so we're excited to see them start out this event.
Every Thunderbird who competed on bars tonight improved upon their score from last week. Certainly something that will please this SU coaching staff. And now we get set for rotation number 3. Shai Murakami starts things off after her record-setting performance on the bars. She goes to the beam where she had a 9.775 last week.
You know, just like that beautiful performance on bars, this beam is her event too. You know, you're going to see that great performance, that great confidence, smooth and cool under pressure, and that's exactly who you want to start this beam lineup with. So that is a triple series. She went back handspring, layout, step out, back handspring. That's going to give her a lot of bonus. And that is called a sheep jump. It's very difficult because you take your eyes off the beam and practically her toes touch her head, so it's quite difficult. And she's rounding out with a dismount right now. Aerial straight to a tuck full, perfect stick, and that's exactly what you expect out of Shai. Great start for the Flippin' Birds.
And our first floor routine of the night comes courtesy of the freshman from Minnesota, Molly Arnold, a 9.575 last week, below her season average of 9.688.
You mentioned earlier about competing floor at away meets. I feel regardless of where you're at, floor is just such a fun event to compete. So whether you're home or away, you just have a good time performing, showing off your personality with the floor music and the choreography you pick alongside the tumbling passes. Starts off with a round up back handspring, 2.5 punch front, very difficult starting pass. Great leaps. She got all the way around on those. Winding up for this second pass. Great double back. She had the chest up on the landing. That's what you want to see out of that pass. Great routine from Molly, just that 2-pass routine, but when you do it that clean, that's all you need.
Over to the beam, Rachel Smith, who did not compete last week, one of the Thunderbirds we've been alluding to, who were out of the lineup last week, and she steps up to the beam.
She does a unique series right here. Round off, layout, step out. Tiny bobble check, but overall great series. Very difficult, so that should get her some bonus. Another slight check right there, but that's called a tourjete split full leap. The judges are going to be looking for that 180 line that your legs make in the air. Because of that series, because of that leap pass, she has enough bonus that she can just go straight to that dismount. Round off 1.5 dismount right to that lawn dart stick. Great routine for Rachel.
Our second floor routine of the night belongs to Eve Jackson. A 9.775 in this event last week and has already competed tonight with a 9.575 on vault and a 9.15 on bars.
She's going for her first pass. Huge double pike. A little bit big of a step behind. That'll be a small deduction, but big tumbling from Eve tonight. Going into the second pass. See a punch front layout, punch full, great landing. Really fun floor routine from Eve. I'm really enjoying watching her. Big leaps. You can hear the build up in the music to her last pass, getting that energy. Round up back handspring double back. Great finish for Eve. Solid floor routine.
Now she's following a floor routine more than solid. Molly Arnold, a new career high, 9.90 to start things off for the Aggies here in rotation number 3. And the Thunderbirds sent Haley Voltaggio to the beam, a 9.775 in this event last week.
So when you're watching balance beam, you're going to want to watch for a few things. You're going to need a series, a leap pass, a front side move, a toe turn, and a dismount. You need all of those skills in order to get that 10-0 start value. Haley Voltaggio does a beautiful triple series right here. Back handspring, layout, step out, just a little small step back, but she kept her cool and stayed on.
I was going to tell them all of that, but I decided to let you do it instead.
We'll let you take the next routine. How about that?
No, it's okay.
They may look easy, but the toe turns are the bane of every gymnast's existence. Can make or break a routine, even just a little bobble check. Round off 1.5 dismount. Great stick, and you can see she's just pumped to be in that lineup and hit that great routine.
Murakami starts things off for Southern Utah on the beam with an even 9.8. And our third floor routine of the night belongs to the freshman from Upper Marlboro, Maryland, Trinity Brown. A 9.875 last week, a career best.
I was watching Trinity a little bit in warm-ups, and she has huge tumbling, so we can look forward to that from her tonight. Great punch front connected to round off back handspring double tuck. Really clean. Adds a little bit of difficulty with the punch front connected in the front. Front handspring punch pull from Pike. A little bit of a step back, but otherwise stayed on her feet. Really big leaps from the Aggies tonight. Crowd seemed to like that little move. You'll notice sometimes in floor routines before the third pass, a little bit slower dance just as they're catching their breath and getting ready for the third pass. Huge double pike, great controlled landing. Overall beautiful routine for Trinity. Did not disappoint. That tumbling was huge.
She's following a 9.9 and a 9.85 from Eve Jackson, so a very strong start for Utah State on floor. One of the 30 best floor teams by average this year. And just a touch over an even 49. Back over to the beam we go. Emma Wisman, the senior from Salt Lake City, tied a career high last week on this event with a 9.85.
Emma Wisman just performed what is called a front aerial flick. So that front aerial connected to those two back handsprings is going to give her a lot of bonus. And I think there really wasn't much wrong with it. She's always so great to watch because she's so cool and confident. It's like she's the only one in this arena competing right now.
I could watch Emma do beam all day.
That's what you call a front toss or a front summy. She does a small beat jump out of it, which gets her a little bit of bonus for that 10-0 start value. Cartwheel gainer full right to a stick. This beam lineup is really just getting better and better with every routine. I'm sure they're excited about that.
Southern Utah trying to crack that 49 threshold for the first time this year. They've got a 9.8 from Shai Murakami, a 9.775 from Rachel Smith, and Voltaggio a 9.85, and we'll await the score of Emma Wisman. But we go back over to our fourth floor routine of the evening from Rebecca Wells, competing in the all-around tonight for Utah State and head coach Amy Smith in her 5th season.
On these individual rotations, Spencer's been talking about that 49 mark. That's where you want to meet at every event because that's what's going to eventually get you to that 196.5, 197 range.
Wells a 9.875 on floor last week, her first career floor title.
As I mentioned on ball earlier, the Aggies just look really comfortable and trusting their gymnastics, and they brought it right over to floor. Really dynamic double pike. Great landing. You'll see that she has the mat in that corner sometimes just to save the ankles so you can do your gymnastics a little longer. She just looks like she's having fun out there. That's the key.
If you're not having fun during a floor routine, you're not going to score very well.
Exactly. Round off 1.5, connected to a round off back handspring double full. It's a long combination, but she did it beautifully. Just barely a little short on that double full. Going into her last pass. Punch Rudy. Great routine from Rebecca. She's really dynamic tumbling.
Well, she's already contributed with a 9.9 and a 9.775 on vault and bars tonight. And over on the beam, it's Hannah Knipp, who on bars earlier tonight scored a 9.85.
Hannah Knipp is one of the best in the sport on this event. It's so smooth, and she's always so confident in every skill that she does. And she gets a 9.95, and it's like a walk in the park for her.
She She had a 9.725 last week, her lowest score of the year. First time she'd been under 9.8 on the balance beam in 2022.
She had a beautiful flick lay series right there. No wobbles, just cool and confident. In those leap passes, you're going to want to look for that 180 angle, and Nip performs that perfectly. No deductions there. Right into that gainer full dismount and grabs that stick.
Bree Clark is next up with her floor routine for Utah State.
She even had a big step out of it. That just shows how much power she's got. Double A is just that double flip in a laid out position, which is really difficult, but she made it look so easy. See those teammates on the side really getting into it with their teammate.
Don't know if you can see it on camera, but some of the SCU gymnasts were dancing along. You know, they've competed 3 times against them, so kind of starting to get the hang of it too.
Yeah, this is the 3rd time these two squads have met this season. First time in a dual meet. Southern Utah won both dual meets last year. Some oohs and ahs at that skill there.
Going into our next pass. She got some serious height on that punch front. So impressive. The difficulty in that routine is just crazy. She did such a great job. And the energy was amazing. When you can see a gymnast carry her energy throughout the whole floor routine from start to finish, it's so fun to watch. And she did an amazing job.
Now, off of a season low 9.175, she will certainly be well beyond that with her score. We await that and go back over to the beam. Final performance here in rotation number 3. Aubrey Schwartz off of a season high 9.825 on the balance beam.
Aubrey is the anchor spot in this lineup. It's a very important spot because, you know, the score's been building this whole time, and they do have that 9.775, which is a great score, but if they can get above that 9.8 mark, it'll just build that up to that 49, hopefully, on this beam rotation.
A 9.775 from Rachel Smith, followed by a 9.85 from Voltaggio and a 9.875 from Wisman.
So she just did a beat jump, layout, step out. Very difficult, takes a lot of power from those legs. Another sheep jump, very difficult. It looks like she's getting ready for that dismount. Great stick. Looks like almost every one of those gymnasts stuck their dismounts, and that's exactly what you want to see. So it's no surprise that they're already above that 49.125 mark.
Final performance of rotation number 3 tonight here in Cedar City. Jessica Gutierrez off of a 9.825 last week, averaging just a 9.731 on the floor this year. She'll close it out as the anchor spot in the floor routine for the Aggies.
That was a difficult leap right there. Right before her first pass. Another front tuck step out to a double tuck. Looks like the team, not only does the gymnast have choreography, but the team as well.
Floor is always a fun event to perform because not only do you get to show off your amazing tumbling skills, but you get to show off your personality a little bit, not only with the music that you choose, but also just how you dance and how you perform.
Utah State has already set a new season high. Their score currently sitting at a 49.325 on the floor routine.
I'd say they've earned it. They've had a great floor rotation thus far. Jessica coming into her second pass. Ending with a double pike. She had a little bit of slide back on that lunge, but otherwise it's not easy to end on a double pike, and she did it so great.
A strong third rotation from Utah State, by far their best of the night so far. We'll have all the scores tallied up for you when we come back from the campus of Southern Utah University, watching college gymnastics on ESPN+. Couple of top 25 gymnastics teams going at it here in Cedar City tonight. Spencer McLaughlin with you alongside Megan and Maddie McBride. How about that third rotation, Megan, on both sides? Southern Utah over 49, but the floor routine from Utah State really still in the show.
I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. That's what Friday Night Gymnastics is all about. Every team looked like they just put their best foot forward on every routine. It was just so fun to watch.
And this is the beam routine of Emma Wisman, who scored a 9.875, besting her score last week and setting a new career high on the balance beam. Has to be a good feeling for the senior from Salt Lake City.
Oh yeah, you can just see how smooth and confident she is in everything she does. Just she knows that she's going to hit, and so does the team, which is exactly why she's in that beam lineup.
Well, you were talking up her routine. The judges clearly agreed as they handed her the highest beam score for Southern Utah. And the Flippin' Birds, for the first time this year, cracked the 49-point threshold. We're still awaiting that final beam score from Aubrey Schwartz. It's sitting at 49.125. Schwartz comes in at 9.775. So the Thunderbirds, again a season high with 49.125 on the balance beam, but that third rotation was really highlighted by these floor routines from Utah State. And here you see the best of the bunch, Bree Clarks.
Yeah, they were really dynamic on the floor tonight, these Aggies. And that was really highlighted with Bree Clark's routine. She has serious difficulty. That's not a routine you'll see often in the NCAA. So count yourselves lucky that you got to see that tonight, and make sure to watch out for it the next time we see the Aggies. This is her last pass, 2.5 to a punch front, which is difficult with that blind landing, and she got serious height on that punch front, which is so impressive. Great routine from Bree Clark tonight.
A 9.925, that would be her highest score of the season. She has 4 floor titles this year, does the freshman from Daphne, Alabama. And Maddie, there are 7 freshmen on this roster. We've seen a handful of them tonight for Coach Smith and Utah State, and having a freshman who can go out there and put up a score like that on the road, no less, that's mighty impressive.
Yeah, and it's especially fun to see these freshmen really shine and to just expect great things for the rest of their career, because she's got solid 3 years left and she's only going to get better. So I'm excited to see her growth and to see her down the road. Southern
Utah has seen some growth here tonight with regards to their scores over the past couple of weeks. They peaked with a 196.55 earlier this year in a home meet win against a Pac-12 opponent in Arizona, but since then the scores have dropped down a bit. But Coach Bauman told me that with gymnasts getting back into the lineup, he thought that they would be much closer to full health than they have been, and it certainly looks that way for a team that came in ranked top 25 in the year, or in the country.
Yeah, it's always tough when you have those main gymnasts that are in the lineup and when they can't compete, you know. But you always have those gymnasts that are ready to step up and step in and, you know, hit those routines. But it's great to have them all back so that we can get, you know, back to SU gymnastics.
And Rachel Smith is one of them, and we will get a look at her on the floor routine a little bit later tonight. But Southern Utah right now currently in the lead by just a slim margin, 147.725 to 147.425. So a little bit of ground to make up for Utah State here in the final rotation. But Maddie, they're certainly far from out of this.
Yeah, no, they're definitely in the game. This is a neck-and-neck meet, and it's always really exciting to see meets like this. You want both teams to do their best gymnastics and, you know, see who's the best of the best at the end of the night. But looks like it's going to be a close call here, so we'll see after the end of this last rotation.
That's exactly what Coach Bauman told me
earlier today. He, of course, a graduate of Utah State, learned how to coach there, spent 7 years as a graduate assistant and as an undergrad up in Logan under head coach Ray Korn, the late Ray Korn, of course, who Utah State honored in their last home meet, a tri-meet win last week against these Flippin' Birds and Ball State. But boy, Utah State has been really good, but Southern Utah themselves, they have come out strong really in each of their 3 rotations so far. And it looked like they might have a comfortable victory, at least a comfortable lead going into this 4th and final rotation. But that floor routine from all 6 gymnasts really from Utah State, Megan, that really kind of narrowed the gap and helped keep them in it.
Yeah, I mean, you can see from every gymnast, it looks like they're just honing in on the details. That's what really makes or breaks to me. It's not necessarily the big tumbling. It's the chest up landings. It's the pointed toes. It's the, it's the control in the landing. So it looks like Utah State really honed in on those tonight.
Well, Utah State set a season high with that 49.325 on floor, just a little bit off of the all-time best mark of 49.55 set all the way back in 2004. But Southern Utah has set a season high in each of the first 3 rotations. Their season high on floor is their second highest score overall this season as a team, 49.25. And their highest being 49.3 on bars previously. They, of course, have beaten that with a 49.325 tonight. So going into this final rotation, this has to be a Thunderbird team that is feeling very confident, but you look up at the scoreboard, it's still very tight. And though gymnastics a little bit more about the score than getting the actual win, I think there's something to be said about the mental advantage you gain if you can go head-to-head with a team that's bested you twice this year and get the better of them.
Definitely, it's a good confidence booster, and especially to have those season high scores at this time in the season is so exciting for Southern Utah at home and for Utah State on the road. That's a big confidence booster for them for the rest of their season.
Well, the last time Southern Utah was in this gym competing against BYU back on January the 21st, it was a nail-biter, shall we say. The final score is 196.45 to 196.425. Those were not the scores when we signed off of the broadcast. There were challenges that came from the BYU coaching staff. Most were successful. One was not. Got their scores higher than they were by a couple tenths, which doesn't sound like a lot, but of course it is. And ultimately, it ends up being a narrow Southern Utah win. But when you have that in the back of your mind, Megan, going into the final rotation, obviously you'd prefer to just get the win by a little bit more comfortable of a margin. How do you approach it mentally, knowing that you want to try and put this team away, but Utah State is a very talented team?
Yeah, usually at this point in the meet, this is the climax of the meet. Every routine and every rotation is built up to this moment. So you can't let that score get in your mind. You're not here for the scores, you're here to compete your gymnastics. So it's really about honing in on those landings and just doing what your body knows how to do.
So 9.875 from Gutierrez makes it a 49.375 on floor for Utah State, a season high. The Aggies to the beam, the Flippin' Birds over to the floor. And this, of course, the rotation that everybody in this gym has been waiting for, the home team on a floor routine. And that is always the most exciting of all the events. Not that the other ones don't have plenty of drama or moments of applause or excitement, anything like that, but floor routine always is able to hit another level.
For sure. That's what I came to see. I came to see all of it, but floor is definitely a highlight.
You're just kind of here, just making your way through the first. You're like, yeah, just get me to floor. Just get me
If you could hurry up a little, that'd be great.
Well, both teams waiting it out right now. And who knows what it is, but Utah State seems to just bring out the best in Southern Utah. In the head-to-head meets last year, the Thunderbirds put up a 196.65 in Logan. That one of the 10 best scores in program history. And here in this gym last year, they put up a 197.275, the second best score in school history. It has been a mighty impressive run for head coach Scotty Bauman in his 31st season. Won a WAC championship back in 2010. In 1991, when he took over, the team average was 182.16, and by 2010, he had it up to 195.181. And both of you know that is a tremendous
change in score average, Megan. That is a big, big jump.
Oh, yeah.
And speaking of jump, Rebecca Wells with a split jump there on the beam to begin her routine.
See, you don't need us here. You got it. You know what you're talking about.
That's one of my 5 vocab words I've got stored in my head.
Rebecca Wells is looking super clean on this beam routine right now. This is the first routine up for the Aggies, and it looks like it's going to be a solid start for them. With that lawn dart stick, and overall not much to take on that routine.
A 9.9 on vault, a 9.775 on bars, a 9.825 on floor, and we'll await that 4th and final score for Rebecca Wells. And Kayla Horton starts us off on the floor here inside the AFEC. Crowd ready.
As we've mentioned before, the first spot in really any event is a really important spot to be in. You just want to start your team off strong. Very difficult pass from Kayla. Round off 1.5 to a punch front full. Generally, you'll see people just do a layout without the twist for that front pass, but she adds a full, which makes it even more difficult. Going up for her second pass. Punch Rudy, it looks like she might not have gone all the way around there, but stayed on her feet, which is the important thing. Great leaps, just barely short on that last leap. Going into the last pass. Round off 1.5 punch layout. Oh, just a little extra energy out of it too. Great way to start the floor lineup for the Thunderbirds tonight. Kayla Horton.
Floor has been the area where Southern Utah has struggled the most. A 48.65 last week in the tri-meet up in Logan. Their lowest score in an event as a team last week, so we'll see if they can improve upon that. Meanwhile, back over to the beam, and it is Carly Bales, who had a 9.9 last week, not far off of her career high 9.925.
Sometimes when you're watching these beam routines, you kind of forget that they're performing on a 4-inch piece of wood.
It looks a lot bigger from here.
Yeah.
It's about as wide as an iPhone, just
Yeah.
a bit, just a touch wider than that.
For her series, she did a front aerial connected to a back handspring step out, and it was very smooth, very well executed. There's that required leap pass. She went switch leap, tuck 3/4. There's another front aerial right there connected to a split jump, which is going to get her some bonus. Looks like she's winding up for that dismount. Round off 1.5 right to that stick. Another great routine for the Aggies. It's just going to keep building from here.
Nothing much wrong with that. Very beautiful beam routine.
Our second floor routine for the Thunderbirds tonight, Rachel Smith, one of the T-Birds who did not compete last week, and one of the biggest personalities on this Flippin' Birds roster.
Yeah, we talk about looking forward to the floor rotation. When we say that, we mean looking forward to Rachel Smith. Huge first pass. Instead of doing a normal round off back handspring double back, she does a round off whip double back. Just adds a little bit of difficulty.
You can tell the crowd's just getting into it. So excited to be watching.
Everyone gets into Beyonce.
Who
How
doesn't?
can you not? Rachel connects 3 leaps right there. She's just having fun out there. Always a crowd pleaser. It's awesome to watch. A punch Rudy, makes it all the way around, chest up landing, beautiful execution. And we got the crowd dancing around.
I'd put a ring on that.
Big smiles from Rachel, big smiles from us watching up here. We're all happy with that floor routine.
Looks like the crowd is too.
Yep.
Crowd wants a 10. We'll see what the score is later. Rebecca Wells at 9-8 on the beam for Utah State. We're awaiting the score of Carly Bales. Kayla Horton had a 9-7 on floor to start things off for Southern Utah. And this is Kylan McCrite, another freshman from Parkland, Florida, a 9.835 average this year. Just tremendous talent for such a young gymnast.
Yeah, it's always difficult getting into those lineups as a freshman, but it looks like she's made her way into that lineup and she's earned that spot. Great control on those leaps. Not a doubt in her mind that she hit those. You know, watching both these teams going head-to-head, floor to beam, it's going to be close. Every gymnast looks like they're putting their best foot forward, and it's so fun to watch. Aerial full, another great stick from Utah State.
They must put glue on those mats before this meet. They're all sticky feet tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Well, she is following a 9-9 from Carly Bales, second straight week. The senior from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, has scored a 9-9, but we head back over to the floor as scores continue to trickle in. And here goes Carly McLean, a 9.825 in each of her last 3 floor routines.
Carly is such a consistent floor worker, always a reliable person to have in your lineup. Going into her first pass. Huge double pike. Carly's always so good at having such controlled landings. She knows where she's at and she gets it every time. Round off 1.5 punch layout. She just floats in the air when she does that pass. Going into her leaps. Great landings. Beautiful lines through that leap. We see getting a little bit more floor choreography, getting ready for that last pass, catching her breath. Gearing up for this last pass. Round off back handspring, double back, amazing. Not much wrong with this floor routine from Carly. Mic drop at the end, she nailed it.
Yeah, she has scored 9-9 or higher 13 times in her career on the floor. Crowd once again calling for a 10. Tremendous energy as always tonight here inside the AFEC. And up next, Brianna Brooks on the balance beam for Utah State and head coach Amy Smith.
I think we ought to let the crowd judge the routines. What do you guys think?
They might be a little biased,
Just a little.
just a touch.
She saw right there, front aerial flick connection. She's such a beautiful gymnast to watch, such pretty lines, beautiful legs. Looks like a little cover up on a balance right there, but that's what you gotta do. You just gotta roll with the punches. She did a unique skill there. She went leap pass right into a back handspring straddle down. Getting ready for that dismount. Hitch kick aerial to back full. Another stick. I think you're right, there is glue on those mats.
They're killing these landings.
Yeah, another great routine for Utah State.
Aubrey Schwartz is up next on the floor. 9.825 last week on her floor routine. The sophomore from Ames, Iowa, that matched a season high.
Aubrey has some unique tumbling in this floor routine. Front handspring, front double full, extremely difficult. You don't see that much in the NCAA.
That's what you call an E-pass, and that's going to get you a ton of bonus.
Switch leap towards the table, full. Great control on those leaps. That can be hard sometimes. She did that beautifully. Got the crowd jumping along, going crazy. So much fun. Gearing up for her second pass. Front handspring, front Rudy, back layout, step out. Again, a unique pass from Aubrey Schwartz. Executed it beautifully. Awesome routine from Aubrey. When you have high difficulty like that in a routine with Aubrey's, you just need those 2 passes because you'll get the 10-0 start value.
She's following a 9.925 from her teammate, Carly McLean. And over on the balance beam, Sophie Sullivan.
Whoa, difficult combo right there. Front aerial to a back pike. She's so sharp and confident in every skill she does. She knows exactly what she's doing.
Well, her career stats back it up. The junior from Manhattan Beach, California, owns the 3 highest scores in school history on the balance beam. A 9.975, her career best, with a couple of 9.95s as well.
Another stick from Utah State. You can see how she gets all those 9.9s. Those are well deserved.
Hannah Nip is up next for her floor routine. Just 3 gymnasts left to compete tonight in what is continuously becoming more and more a tightly knit affair here in Cedar City.
As we mentioned before about Hannah Nip on bars and beam, she's a 5th-year senior here, just a staple in these lineups. She's a veteran competitor, and you can always count on her to hit amazing routines. First pass, round off back handspring, double pike. Nip always has such clean form. She's focusing on the details, those pointed toes and stuck landings. Going into her second pass. Front handspring, front full, front layout. Beautiful controlled landing. Just so much fun to watch.
You can see the crowd interacting there. I can't tell who's having more fun, the gymnast or the crowd.
That's an even tighter contest than the meet itself.
Yeah, right. Getting ready for her last pass. Round off back handspring, double back, just barely short. You see she took a little step forward, but still great routine from Hannah Nip.
She's following a 9.875 from Aubrey Schwartz. And now we've got our final 2 gymnasts of the evening. Bree Clark, the freshman from Daphne, Alabama, one of 4 freshmen to compete tonight for Utah State, and head coach Amy Smith.
This beam lineup has been one stick and one amazing routine after the next, so Breed has no reason to worry. She can just have fun and relax up there.
There has not been a single Aggie to get a score on the balance beam lower than a 9.8. Currently sitting at a 49.3.
Looks like she dropped her shoulders a little bit to the left there, but she stayed cool and managed to stay on. Great leaps right there. When you have a bobble like that, you can't ruminate on it. You just gotta take a deep breath and just focus on the next skill. Front full dismount right there, and another stick. I think that was 6 out of 6 sticks for them. So great finish for the Aggies. They should be super proud of how they performed tonight.
Regardless of what score Utah State gets there on the beam routine of Bree Clark, it will be a new season high, currently sitting at 196.775. And our last performer of the night is Caitlin Cash Money Co., they call her.
They don't call her Cash Money Co. for no reason. She brings the money every routine.
Did not do floor last week, nor did she do it all of last year due to an ankle injury.
Another big E-pass from Kate Coe. It's full in. She did go out of bounds, just a little extra power out of that. That's when you just move on to the next skill. Another triple leap. Great control. Front layout, front full. Oh, and a fall from Kate Coe. Just missed that punch into the last full. Still with a fall, great routine from Kate Coe. No need to worry, her teammates had her back with those 5 solid routines right before.
Southern Utah currently sitting at a 49.25 on the floor, likely to remain there. And we will have all of the final scores when we return. Another close one in Cedar City. We'll see if the scores change by the time we come back. Final scores still being added up. As it stands right now, Southern Utah, the slightest of margins over the visiting Aggies of Utah State. 2 top 25 gymnastics programs doing battle here tonight inside the America First Event Center. Spencer McLaughlin with you alongside Megan McBride to my right and Maddie McBride to her right as well. A couple of former SUU gymnasts. And Megan, I'll start with you. We were raving about the third rotation, particularly with the Utah State floor routine, but Southern Utah really responded with their floor routine, but then we're watching Utah State with an excellent fourth rotation as well.
You know, I didn't think we'd say it, but I think the fourth rotation was even better than the third rotation. You know, every gymnast just seemed on their game, and they were just so excited to see what they could put forward.
Well, Southern Utah right now has got a 196.975 to 196.800 advantage. Utah State challenged the final floor routine they had tonight. They did get a little bit of points added to their score, so that was a successful challenge, but that has been factored into the scores I just read, which are not final. But Maddie, we came into this expecting to see some high-level gymnastics, a couple of top 25 programs, third time they've met this year. Utah State has gotten the better of Southern Utah each of the first 2 times in a quad meet in the Best of Utah earlier this season, then last week in the tri-meet, and boy, both teams look like they are trending upward as this season goes on.
Absolutely, and that's what you want to see when you're at this point in the season, just consistently, even just a little by little, getting scores just improving throughout the season, and that's exactly what these teams are doing, and it's exciting to watch.
Well, let's go to the PA announcer now to get our scores from the meet.
With a score of 9.9 from Southern Utah University, Caitlin Coe.
These are the vault scores coming in right now.
And with a score of 9.9 from SUU, Morgan Alfaro. The individual results on the uneven parallel bars. There was a 4-way tie for second place with a score of 9.85 from Utah State, Maya Fishwick. With a score of 9.85 from Utah State, Brianna Brooks. With a score of 9.85 from Southern Utah, Aubrey Schwartz. And with a score of 9.85 from Southern Utah, Hannah Nip. And in first place with a score of 9.975 from Southern Utah, Shylin Murakami.
A healthy round of applause for a new school record for Shai Murakami.
Results on the balance beam. There was a three-way tie for second place with a score of 9.875 from Utah State University, Sophie Sullivan. With a score of 9.875 from Utah State, Brianna Brooks. And with a score of 9.875 from Southern Utah, Emma Wisman. In first place with a score of 9.9 from Utah State, Carly Bales. Now the individual results on the floor exercise. In third place with a score of 9.9 from Utah State, Molly Arnold. There was a two-way tie for first place with a score of 9.925 from Utah State, Bree Clark. And with a score of 9.925 from Southern Utah, Carly McLean. Tonight's all-around winner with a score of 39.300 from Utah State, Rebecca Wells.
A career best in the all-around for Rebecca Wells.
And the final team scores. In second place with a score of 196.800, the Utah State Aggies. In first place with a score of 196.975, your SUU Flippin' Bullets.
The Thunderbirds remain unbeaten in this gym in 2022. They make it 3 straight in dual meets with the Aggies of Utah State with a final score of 196.975. Season highs for both teams and this one, but it's the Thunderbirds who prevail by 0.175. We'll take a pause when we come back, wrapping up another fantastic top 25 gymnastics meet in Cedar City. Back after this. High win for Southern Utah here at home. They edged the 21st ranked Aggies of Utah State 196.975 to 196.800. Spencer McLaughlin back with you again. I'm joined by Megan and Maddie McBride to my right, and then further to my right once again, trying to not confuse you folks at home. But Megan, let's start with you since you're closest to me. This was a top 25 matchup that certainly lived up to the hype.
Oh, for sure. You know, you see these teams in the MRGC conference, and you know they can handle the pressure just like the Oklahomas and the Michigans. So, and this tonight just proved it. Not only the scores, but just the gymnastics in general.
Yeah, both teams set a season high in scoring. Southern Utah just that much better. And Maddie, I feel like this is one of those meets where Utah State walks away on the record book with a loss technically, but they have to feel very good about their performance tonight, especially on the road.
Definitely. As you mentioned before, in gymnastics, it's not so much about the win, even though that feels really good. It's about the scores, because that's what's going to determine where you're ranked in the end and where you'll be seated in regionals. And both teams should be really pleased with the scores they put out tonight. Both season highs. It's really incredible. Southern
Utah came in ranked 25th in the country. Utah State 21st. Both should at least hold serve in those spots, if not move up in the rankings by the time this week comes to a close. But for Coach Bauman in his 31st year, it is yet another win he picks up here in front of the home fans. And as usual, Maddie, the fans on the floor routine, they were awesome tonight.
Oh, yeah, always are. You can always count on the T-Bird fans to really bring it home for us.
And that's what Southern Utah was able to get done tonight. We'll take one more pause when we come back, and we'll have another one as well later after we hear from SUU head coach Scotty Baum and his thoughts on the win. Stick around. Back inside the America First Event Center in Cedar City. We're still waiting on head coach Scotty Bauman for SU to come talk to us about the win. But in the meantime, Megan and Maddie McBride, let's take a look at some of the replays from
Finished
this
your degree,
meet.
but want to? Meet the
has
finish
been
line.
just so darn impressive, really, from both squads. Highlighted, of course, by Shai Murakami's 9.975 on bars, a new program record for SUU.
It just doesn't get much better than that, but that's just how Shai performs. You know, she does that routine every day in practice, so it was just a matter of time until those judges rewarded her.
And she gets rewarded. She had the school record previously. She had done it twice, a 9.95, but that stuck landing there propels her to a 9.975. And this was the best floor routine of the night from Bree Clark, and she really helped to anchor out that rotation on floor for the Aggies.
For sure. As I said time and time again, watching Bree Clark, she has such big dynamic tumbling. Very hard difficulty for this floor routine, and she makes it look easy. And I can assure you, it is not easy.
Most definitely is not.
Goes into this impressive round off back handspring, 2.5 punch front. Seriously, huge height on that. She hits that punch angle just right.
And those are the things that you're looking for in the floor routine, right, are the amplitude on your tumbling passes, and Carly McLean did a great job with that tonight as well.
Yeah, that's what is impressive about floor. It's not just the tumbling and how much height and difficulty you have, but it's about the control on the landings too. They do these huge passes and then land it like it's nothing.
And when you're doing the floor routines, everyone watching at home sees, of course, the interaction with the crowd, and that's such a big part of what makes it, you know, the event that you close with, because it's the most fun, the most exciting, the most engaging, gets the students into it as well with the music and such, and the gymnasts are able to showcase their personalities as well. But from a tactical standpoint, how does the dance choreography play into the tumbling passes, if at all, Maddie?
As I mentioned before, as you're going into that third pass, you've already done 2 passes in a leap, you're tired, you're getting ready for that last pass, and you really want to make it count, so you have that slower dance just to prepare. But like Megan said, it's a chance to show off your personality and really perform.
And this was Carly Bales on the beam, a 9.9, just 0.025 off her career high, second straight week that she has scored 9.9. One of the just 3 seniors on this roster, but she was really, really solid tonight for Utah State.
You could tell she's a veteran on this event. She's so sharp in everything she does, every landing, even every wrist flick. Just, she's so confident in what she's doing, and she knows that she's going to hit.
And she did that tonight. It was a meet of season highs all around for both Utah State and Southern Utah. The Thunderbirds came out with season highs in each of their first 3 events, vault, bars, and beam, and then they're able to close the job with a 49.275 on, or excuse me, a 49.25 on the floor, matching their season high there. And though Utah State sort of gained on them a little bit with that third rotation, Megan, Utah State ultimately comes up just a little bit short. Southern Utah able to do just enough to get over the hump.
Yeah, as stressful as it is to watch a meet where it's so close, where like every 10th counts, that's really what's so fun about college gymnastics, is because it does come down to the little details, so it's what makes it exciting.
It absolutely is. We'll take another pause. We hope to have SU head coach Scotty Bauman on the other side, back from the America First Event Center after this. Head coach Scotty Bauman, Spencer McLaughlin with you inside the America First Event Center in Cedar City, where the Thunderbirds prevail for the 3rd consecutive time in a dual meet against Utah State. And coach, you talked to me earlier today about the amount of respect you have for this Utah State program. Of course, it's your alma mater where you learned to coach under the late Ray Korn. And what is it about this Utah State team that just seems to bring out the best in SUU gymnastics?
Well, you know what? They are fantastic. They have great athletes there. They're coached well. And their beam team is one of the best beam teams we go against every year. We knew going into floor that we were going to have to do extraordinarily well on that event to be able to keep up with them. So, and it was nice to put together a great floor, set this week. We've been struggling on that event. A couple of for the last couple of weeks. So we put in Caitlin Coe, and we pulled out Haley Voltaggio. And, you know, Kate struggled a little bit, but Haley's ready. And we have a couple of other girls ready to go on that event. So I was really pleased with the girls tonight.
You match a season high on floor with a 49.25. You set season highs in each of the three other events tonight, including a new all-around season high. As you reflect on this performance just in the early moments, I know you're a little out of breath after
ran up the stairs.
To join us here, but just your instant reactions to, you know, your team having such a successful tonight on the scoreboard.
Yeah, again, this was the first meet where we were almost at full strength since the beginning of the year. We've had COVID issues and all kinds of issues. It's just been crazy what has been keeping kids out right now. And we were almost at full strength right now. We're still kind of working her back into some of the lineups, and it was good to see her go in there again on bars. But she's one of the best all-arounders in the country, and right now we're only using her on floor and bars. So, you know, when she gets ready to go, she'll be back in there. But again, this team, they can do this every time, and they've just got to be able to do the same thing on the road and put together a great meet and not count any, huge mistakes.
Coach, this is your 31st season, and the record books have been rewritten during your time here over the past 3 decades and change. Another instance of that tonight with Shai Murakami's 9.975 on the bars routine. It looked good from up here. How did you see it down there?
It was so well done. I mean, she hit every handstand. She drilled that landing. Her Jaeger is 5 feet above the high bar. She's just an incredible bar worker. And one of these days it's going to happen. There's another kid in our conference, Emily Muhlenhop, that'll be here next time against Boise State. That is, her and Shai Lin duke it out every week for, top honors on bars. And but they're two of the best bar workers in the country, so they are fun to watch.
Well, Coach, your team got off to a strong start tonight, and Utah State struggled a little bit in their first rotation on the bars. That was their lowest score here tonight, but you knew a talented team like the Aggies was going to rebound and ultimately push you a little bit. What was your messaging to the team throughout, as you had the lead from the get-go, but Utah State just refused to go away, particularly after that third rotation?
Oh, right, yeah. They're not going to give up, that's for sure. We just told the team to stay within themselves and what they were doing and stay in the moment, because that's, they start worrying about things outside of gymnastics or worrying about, upsetting it, not upsetting, but just disappointing anybody on the team. They all have a lot of heart that way, and so they think too much about that sometimes, and that's what we've been going through a little bit. But they're starting to stabilize and settle down and kind of find their rhythm now, and this team's only going to get better, I think.
Coach, you had your last 2 meets on the road, finally came back here at home. How much of a boost do you think that was en route to setting a new season high in the all-around score for your squad?
It was huge. Competing on the road is, we usually are a very good road team. And this year we've just been, we've been struggling on the road, and, we've been counting falls and just doing silly mistakes. And, this meet hopefully tonight will get them kind of aware of where they can be if they really start putting it together. So this team will be there. They'll be fine.
Well, Coach, it was a pleasure to watch a couple of top 25 teams go at it. That's all for us here tonight on ESPN+. This has been a production of ESPN. All games and events are streaming live and archived on the ESPN app. For SU head coach Scotty Bauman and my color commentators tonight, Megan and Manny McBride, I'm Spencer McLaughlin signing off from the AFEX. See you tomorrow night for some SUU women's basketball as they battle Sacramento State. And until then, as always, have a wonderful rest of your night.